My name is Amy Frazier, and I'm the President and CEO of the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce, I'm pleased to welcome you to the Culpeper County Candidate Forums. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. We appreciate your attendance tonight as we aim to provide you with informative sessions. Candidate forums are designed to provide voters with the opportunity to learn more about the individuals running for office. By attending a candidate forum, we hope that you as voters can gain a better understanding of each candidate's stance on key issues, evaluate their communication skills, and make an informed decision when casting your ballot on November 7th. We kindly ask that you refrain from any outbursts during the program. In the interest of ensuring a safe and respectful environment, any disruptions will result in the individual being asked to leave. Additionally, we ask that you please hold all applause until the end of each session, and please do not applaud after candidate responses. As we are streaming live tonight on Facebook and filming for Culpeper Media Network, please remain seated during the forum. Candidates have been informed of topics, but they did not receive the questions beforehand. Candidates, you will receive 2 minutes for opening statements, 2 minutes to answer each question, and 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Candidates are reminded that this is a forum and not a debate. Candidates are encouraged to speak directly to the audience and not to each other. We will be adhering to a strict timeline, and to stay on track, you will be cut off at the 2-minute mark. Our moderator will be keeping time using a green, yellow, and red lighting system. The light will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds left and red when the time is up. There will be a 5-minute break between each session. Our moderator for the evening will be Professor Neil Mars. Neil Mars is a professor of marketing at Germanna Community College and has been there since 2010, where he is currently president of the Germanna Faculty Senate and chair of the VCCS Marketing Peer Group. Neil is also the president of Solutions Recruiting, an HR consulting and executive search firm he founded in 2001, and the former vice president of sales for Omni Services, a $300 million company based here in Culpeper. He obtained both his MBA and his BA from the University of Rochester, and has lived in this community for nearly 3 decades. Neil serves on the board of directors for the Hospice of the Piedmont, where he is a former board member with 20 years of service. Thank you again for joining us tonight to further your knowledge of our area. And without further ado, I am pleased to pass it along to our moderator, Neil Mars.
All right, what I thought we would do is we would start off, if we could, and let's call our first candidates up, and these are for Board of Supervisors. So I'd like to ask David Lee and Kathy Campbell to come on up, please. And while they're doing that, I just want to all candidates tonight and to all the people in attendance, I just want to welcome everyone on behalf of President Janet Gullickson. Welcome everybody to Germanna Community College, the site of our community conversations today. I also want to, personally, having lived in this community for a number of years, I want to thank Amy and the Chamber. I'll speak for myself. I learned a great deal last night. Having lived here a long time, I did learn a great deal, so thank you for doing this. I think this is a wonderful event. As I think everybody knows, this is an institute of higher learning, and because of that, we are big believers in free speech. So the good news is, every day, and for those that don't, I wish everybody could come see how well our young people, our students do with that. They really are fabulous. We have conversations every day on difficult topics, but they are able to do that effectively and efficiently. Since I've been teaching in 2010, I've had the exceptions I've had to their exemplary behavior have been extraordinarily rare. So they're able to do that really well. And really they do it because they follow 2 rules. They respect one another and they listen to one another. That means they don't interrupt, they generally want to hear somebody else's viewpoint, and because of that, we're able to convene powerful conversations from that. The second, so the goal is that we are in, obviously, we're all of this, we're in a place of free speech, so that's the good news. The other good news, I will tell you, all the candidates, I am the least political person in Virginia, okay? I am a card-carrying member of the Pragmatic Party. I just want stuff to work, okay? So I have no vested interest, but I will say that, you know, as I said, I am a teacher, so after 14 years of teaching, I am comfortable and prepared to manage, if necessary, a classroom, but I'm sure we won't have to here. So with that said, I'm going to take just 30 seconds, and I want to briefly summarize. Did you folks get a chance to listen or watch last night, by chance? Did you get a chance to listen? Kathy, it was very entertaining, just to let you know. Just let me summarize what we learned last night. First of all, our state candidates want us to be blissfully happy forever. Ms. Yowell creates the bills, and Ms. Norris White collects the money. Mr. Rabb pleaded the fifth, and none of the candidates last night committed to more higher pay increases for community college teachers. So I just want to put that out there as a challenge to everybody as we move forward. So with that said, just to remind you of the format, we're going to start with Mr. Lee, and we're going to alternate who goes first on different questions, but we're going to start with a 2-minute intro. I've got a couple of specific questions here that I'm going to ask, and you'll have a chance to summarize. So if everybody's ready, Mr. Lee, could you start us off with a quick 2-minute introduction?
Much. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is David Lee. I'm running for the Culpeper County Board of Supervisors, the East Fairfax District. I'm a 10-year resident of Culpeper. I live up in the High Point neighborhood. I have a son and a daughter, both grown, and they both live and work here in Culpeper also. Career-wise, I'm a retired middle school principal. I proudly served for 36 years in the Virginia public school system. I worked for over 20 years as an assistant principal, doing lots of middle school discipline. That was fun. And started off my career as a high school Spanish teacher and football coach. I do volunteer here in Culpeper. I volunteer at the Culpeper Literacy Council, teaching English to our citizens who are not native English speakers. I also volunteer at the Public Transportation Board, and I've worked as a court-appointed special advocate helping young people in foster care. I'm running for the Board of Supervisors because I believe that I can make a positive difference in our community. I also believe that government can be a force for good here, statewide, and of course nationally. I'm interested in 4 areas to promote and develop, and those are public schools, mental health, the environment, and law enforcement. And finally, I'd like to say that I am an independent candidate. I think it's very important that our elected officials come into office and they represent all of our citizens, not just certain groups of citizens. And I pledge that if I am elected, that I do want to be a voice for all citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Ms. Campbell.
Do I got to turn this on? Oh, I'm already on. Excellent. First of all, I'd like to thank Culpeper Chamber of Commerce for having us and Germanna Community College for having us here. It does help the constituents find out about each candidate. And I mean, the crowd's amazing tonight. It's a lot different from 4 years ago. I was born and raised in Illinois, the youngest of 8. My dad was a diehard Republican. My mom was a diehard Democrat. I moved out here to get away from politics. Obviously, that didn't go so well, huh? My brother was the mayor. My sister was a psychic. So let me tell you, it was very interesting growing up. One thing that our family taught us is that you just don't judge, because we had a lot of stuff going on. I have a son who's 16 years old. His name's Cash Campbell. About 10 years ago, Jeff Say did an article on him saying everyone knows Cash. He still talks about that to this day. He thinks he's a celebrity. I have 2 stepchildren. One's 25, she has cerebral palsy, and a 22-year-old who is a mechanic. I worked at Morton Buildings for 17 years. In Illinois, I started out, and that's how I ended up coming out to Culpeper. I was promoted out here. I was given 23 counties to work in, which started from Annapolis, Maryland, and went all the way down to Southern Maryland, Northern Neck, and then jumped across over to Madison County and Lexington. With those 23 counties, I ended up having to go in, and I designed and built pre-engineered buildings. So I had to deal with building departments, planning, zoning, all kinds of things. I could probably have a movie just on that job alone. After Morton Buildings, I ended up working for Piedmont Communications, which most of you know is 103.1 WJMA. Geez, I got 5 seconds. I'm not even close. Anyway, I'm your Board Supervisor in East Fairfax District. Please vote for Kathy Campbell.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. We're going to start the questions now, and we'll alternate. So we'll start, Ms. Campbell, we'll start with you first. And I'll read it for you here. First question, what are your thoughts on managing the pace of growth and development in the county, given the increasing demand for leasing and building of data centers in Northern Virginia and the introduction of multiple housing complexes? So I'll read that again. What are your thoughts on managing the pace of growth and development in the county, given the increasing demand for leasing and the building of data centers in Northern Virginia and the introduction of multiple housing complexes?
Well, first of all, it's not really about my thoughts. It's actually about the constituents and what they want. And that's the reason why I've been on this board for 4 years, and you can clearly see with the data center that was approved that I did not vote for that data center, and I was a minority in that vote, which I'm still very unhappy since we had, I think it was almost 50-some people that came to our Board of Supervisor meeting and was against it, and they had legit reasons on why they did not want this data center, and it was on agricultural land, which actually happened to have a Morton building, an equestrian building, that I actually took part in, saw being built at the time, and it was a beautiful facility for people to actually see, especially coming in from Route 3 from Fredericksburg into our beautiful county, and now we're going to have a data center. And what really frustrates me is that it was approved, but they didn't really look at the whole entire plan with all the lines that are going to be coming through. And it's not just about the people's property where the data center is going, it's going to interfere with the neighbors. And I am for people's property rights, but when it affects other people's property, and as a broker in real estate and own my own real estate firm, this does affect these people. They came to Culpeper County to have rural, to have farmland, the beautiful part of Culpeper County. We don't want to see a big data center. As far as housing goes, I think we are really struggling on affordable housing, and I know for a fact we are, because no one can find any place to rent. The rent's outrageous. And so we keep building all these things, and then once again, we don't look at the big plan. Where are we going to even put any of these children that are going to live in these houses? So we have schools that are already overcrowded. We continue to keep building, but we don't have enough schools. Anyway, I know it's going over here. You almost need a bell, like ding.
I'll give you one of these. How's that?
There you go. I like that.
And I'll give you 2 of them when it's really time. Okay. Very good. Mr. Lee.
Thank you. I am not opposed to our data centers. In fact, the increase of revenue that's going to be coming in once they're built and up and running is truly staggering. I think I heard Supervisor Susan Gugino say last night on the order of $100 million a year. That's a lot of money. That's significant. That can go to a lot of things for the benefit of all of our citizens, in particular for our schools. I'm a fan of building new schools. I think our students and our teachers deserve that, and that's a pretty strong foundation. New data centers provide jobs, especially the construction jobs early on, building those data centers. So there are lots of positives to the data centers. There are many negatives that I think we need to really be careful about. Those data centers, of course, have multiple high voltage power lines and towers. The substations alone on those data centers are 10 to 15 acres additionally. An enormous amount of water is used to cool the computers, in the data centers, and that's kind of an open-ended question in terms of where does that water come from. If those companies need to start drilling wells, well, considering the recent drought that we've had, that would be a significant problem for us. And then finally, there are backup diesel generators for these data centers. They're the size of a locomotive. They require underground tanks, 100,000 gallons per tank. They have to cycle that fuel through, I think it's every 30 days. So you have all kinds of environmental issues that I think we need to be really concerned about. So my thinking is that maybe we need to consider at this point doing a pause or a full stop on approving any more data centers. We already have 4 approved, a 5th one is pending, and in terms of housing, I believe we need to continue our housing development. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
You did that well, Mr. Lee, by the way.
Did I
Thank
get
you.
the point?
You didn't get the point.
I didn't give you the point.
Oh.
Data centers are important. I did emphasize that. So, all right.
Well, because you did such a good job, Mr. Lee, you're going to go first this
Yes, sir.
round.
Thank you.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Okay. The second question for our both candidates is, what changes would you make to improve transportation options available to members of our community? I'll read it again. What changes would you make to improve transportation options available to members of our community?
All right, that's a terrific question. Our current population in Culpeper County is around 53,000 people. By the year 2050, it's projected to increase to about 75,000 people. So we do have to account for that additional population in our county. Many of us don't realize how much people depend on public transit for their lives, for their jobs, to get to the store. Those of us that have cars, that's not a problem, but many, many people need public transport. We do currently have a separate county transit system and a separate town transit system. I think one of the things that we could do to improve our transit service is to merge those two systems. I currently do work on the Public Transportation Board, so we're kind of looking forward at things that we can do to improve transit. Merging the two systems would be one of those. Another thing that we can do is we can add a full-time, regularly stopped county line. Right now, the county transportation system is an on-demand system, so a person will call the county, say that they need to be picked up, taken someplace, and then brought back, but they have to do that 24 hours in advance. So if we establish a full-time, regular county line, it's a county-only line with regular stops, that would help a lot of our folks, especially our folks in the Arbors, at the Culpeper, the Carver Center, out to the Field House. All those places can be served by that additional line. And then the third and final thing that I'd like to mention with regards to transit, and this is a personal goal of mine, is for us to transition our buses from gas or diesel, whatever they use right now, to electric. And I think we need to start working on improving Culpeper's environmental capacity, and we can start with that with public transit, electrify our buses. It's better for us environmentally, and it'll bring in more tourism dollars as well. Thank you.
Very good. Ms. Campbell, I'll read the question again. What changes would you make to improve transportation options available to members of the community?
Thank you. Well, to be honest with you, I don't really think there's many changes. I believe our Culpeper Economic Board has done an amazing job as far as increasing some extra routes as far as in the town. You know, I think our first step that we need to really focus on is probably the roads so that our transportation can actually function a little bit better, which we ended up, as a Board of Supervisor, we ended up changing the $1 million to $5 million state match to improve our roads. So once we get this put in place and we end up having that, I think that our transportation is going to actually continue to keep doing well. I do think that as far as maybe with the senior citizens and people with disabilities, we might need something put in place more. But as far as the transportation, I think it's doing fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
Can I use the extra minute on my closing?
Good. All right. Well, what we can do is we'll transition into final comments. That's okay. I'm sorry. Ms. Campbell, I get that reaction from people often, so particularly from students, I get that a lot too. So that's quite all right. I'm used to it. So.
Sorry.
We'll finish with a chance to get a summary. And Ms. Campbell, you'll get to go first this time. So you get to spend 2 minutes. Tell us what you'd like us all to leave here with, remembering about you and your candidacy.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sorry about that, too. So as a board supervisor for the past 4 years, I want to start, I took office in January 1st, 2020. My mother passed away that Saturday unexpectedly, which was in Illinois. I ended up having to go home for a funeral, and I'm the youngest of 8, so let's just say that ended up having some issues in that. When I came back, the pandemic started. At the time, I was on 14 committees, which was the museum, the library, the town and county interaction, which they said, they haven't met in years. Well, let's just say they started meeting, and we had to make decisions. And I'll tell you, it was a very stressful time, but I'll tell you what, as far as Culpeper County, we came out striving. We are in the plus. We have the lowest taxes in the state of Virginia. We actually decreased it, which is pretty amazing going through a pandemic with all the stuff. We're actually going to have broadband, hopefully to all the homes within the next year. And if you just saw the past meeting this past Tuesday, we're pushing hard for all points to get this job done. And we're going to get it done for the people. We have lights for the sports field. We have a pool that's coming since I've been a board supervisor. We have the Carver Center's sign is, you know, I mean, and we've also improved the Carver Center. I mean, it's so huge what we've done. And, but the biggest thing too is the mental awareness and the drugs in our county need to be addressed. People are struggling. The homeless, I really feel, especially since in our district, is they've now, I don't know if you've been by the depot, but they have, where the homeless used to always kind of camp out at, that's no longer there. So we got to start addressing some of these issues, and that's my goal as your board supervisor, East Fairfax District, Kathy Campbell. Count on Campbell.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee,
Yes,
2
sir.
minutes. Tell
Thank
us
you
what
very-
you'd like us to remember.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank Amy Frazier and Sarah and the Chamber of Commerce and our moderator for doing a terrific job setting this up tonight. I'd like to thank all of my fellow candidates, Ms. Campbell and all of our candidates for tonight, and our candidates from last night as well for their commitment to public service. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much. Makes democracy thrive when people run for office, so thank you, everybody. In the year 2020, I completed the Political Leaders Program, which is run out of UVA's Sorensen Institute for Political Leadership. It's a fantastic program. It's a cohort of about 35 people at that time, and we would meet once a month in a different locality in the state of Virginia. So we traveled all around the state of Virginia. We went from Alexandria down to the coal fields of Southwest Virginia and Wise. We went over to the Hampton Roads area, Virginia Beach, talked to the folks in Norfolk, at Portsmouth, then up to the Shenandoah Valley and Harrisonburg, talking to people about their farmlands and how they tackled their problems there. Went down to Bristol, Virginia / Tennessee, and of course up to Richmond and Charlottesville. And in all of these locations, we met and studied how the local business, education, and government leaders work to make better opportunities for their communities. Like I said, it was a fantastic program. And what we found, there was one main theme that came across at every single place that was successful. And some places were not successful, but those places that were successful had people, all of these leaders and the citizens, they worked together in a spirit of respectful collaboration and teamwork. They listened to their citizens and they listened to each other in a respectful way. And I plan to take that same approach with me if I'm elected to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Mr. Lee, Ms. Campbell, thank you very much. It was very informative. Appreciate your time. We're now going to take a 5-minute break, and after that, we're going to ask our school board candidates to come up to the stage. That'll be Barbie Brown, Pat Baker, Kelly Pearson, Therese Matricardi, Matt Boria, and Chrissy Burnett. All right? 5-minute break.